يونت 1 مثلا اكسبلوررز راح نغطي منها lesson 4 و lesson 5. lesson 4 lesson 5. unit 2 unit 2 اللي هي الويرد ايشوز راح نغطي منها lesson 1 اللي هو word population growth، و lesson 5 the garbage project. هاي بالنسبة ليونت 2.
دكتور حكيت 1 و 2 lesson 1 و lesson 2 من يونت 2 صح؟
بالنسبة للlesson خلينا نبدأ من أول. يونت 1 اللي هي explorers lesson 4 و 5. lesson 4 و 5 لهم 4 روبرت سكوت a race to the South Pole. lesson 5 into the deep ocean explorers. هاي بالنسبة ايش؟ ليونت 1. إذا في عندنا بيونت 1 lesson 4 و lesson 5. اوكي. يونت 2 اللي هي word issues في عندنا lesson 1 اللي هو word population growth page 56. عندنا lesson 5 the garbage project اللي هو page 98. هاي بالنسبة ليونت 2. يونت 3 اللي هي مشماش أو هوج بوج في عندنا lesson 3 اللي هو language and language diversity، و lesson 4 skyscrapers. skyscrapers. unit 4 اللي هي science في عندنا lesson 1 biospheres in space، و lesson 3 snow and hail، و lesson 4 photovoltaic cells energy source of the future. اوكي. اذا هاي الليسونز راح نغطيها بالوحدات حكينا عنها. اذا عندنا 4 يونتس، كل يونت فيها 2 lessons ما عدا اخر يونت يونت 4 فيها 3 lessons. اوكي واضح؟ اذا كل محاضرة طبعا راح تحضرون لنا المادة اللي بنشرحها بالصف. بدنا طبعا زي ما قلنا لكم المرة الأولى طبعا في مشاركة زي ما قلنا لكم، حكينا لكم عن العلامات.
لا دكتور احنا ما حكينا. لا
طيب انتم ما كنتوش موجودين بجوز.
يمكن. ودكتور يونت 5 ما رح ناخذ منها شيء صح؟ ما حكيت عنها شيء.
لا يونت 5 لا. اوكي اذا بنعيدها مرة ثانية. عندنا الامتحانات تكون ميد تيرم، بسموه ميد تيرم. طبعا ميد تيرم بشمل اكثر من شغله. الامتحان نفسه 25 علامه عليه. الميد تيرم بضل 25 بضلوا فيهم كويز، منهم كويز وفي مشاركه وحضور. اوكي. طبعا اللي بحضر دائما وبشارك باخذ على 10 علامات على طول. اللي بحضر ما بيشاركش تكون علامته اقل شوي. اللي ما بحضرش المره ما بحط صفر، باخذ صفر. اوكي. اللي ما بحضر او بتجاوز نسبه الغياب، بتجاوز كثير، بحط له صفر. اوكي. فبدكم تلتزموا مواعيد المحاضرات، ما تغيبوش كثير. اوكي. هاي بالنسبه اللي بسموه الميد تيرم. اذا الميد تيرم في عندنا 25 للامتحان نفسه الميد تيرم، 15 ل كويز، وظل 10 للمشاركه والغياب. اوكي حكينا عنه. الفاينل عليه 50 علامه. فاينل 50 علامه. طبعا نوع الامتحانات شو بتكون؟ multiple choice وtrue false. multiple choice وtrue false. واضح؟ طيب فنشوف كيف الكتاب organized، يعني شوف فيه كل وحده في عندنا او كل شابتر. طبعا هنا كل وحده شوف في عندنا before you read questions. طبعا before we read في عندنا questions. اوكي هاي questions نسميها pre-reading questions. طبعا pre-reading questions تعطيك نوع من الموتيفيشن to read the text. to read the text. طبعا هاي بسموها pre-reading questions. في عندنا بعديه context clues. طبعا في عندنا context clues exercise بالbeginning of each lesson. طبعا بحكي عن الفوكابولري والwords for the following lesson. طبعا الهدف من هاي السكشن to pre-teach particularly important vocabulary items، يعني تعلم كلمات ايش جديده. بعديها في عندنا الفوكابولري. طبعا هاي بكل وحده موجود. الفيرست تو exercises give practice with the new words in different contexts لكن with the same meaning. الجزء الثاني vocabulary بسموه vocabulary review. طبعا شو vocabulary review؟ يعني vocabulary items are used in subsequent texts and exercises تعطي ايش additional review. شو بكون نوعية التمارين؟ ممكن يكون fill in space أو matching synonyms أو antonyms. أوكي. اللي بعديه شو بيجي؟ comprehension. ممكن يكون عن الفيرست، ممكن يكون عن true false questions. بقول لك مثلا هل الجملة هاي true false أو فيش عليها not enough information. أو ممكن يكون إذا مش true false يكون multiple choice questions. بعدين شو بيجي comprehension questions. شو comprehension questions؟ طبعا فيهم inference و discussion questions. اوكي. بالنسبة للجزء اللي بعديه، الجزء اللي بعديها main idea. طبعا هون students must choose the main idea of the paragraph. طبعا بكون عندنا 3 possibilities فبنختار المين idea منهم. بعديها بتيجي الword study. عبارة عن word study exercise بتكون at the end of the lesson. شو الهدف منها؟ reinforces structural points مثل verb forms to word verbs articles. برضو فيها spelling rules for noun plurals. اوكي. طبعا الرايتنج يعني مش رايحين نغطيها الرايتنج، احنا مش رايحين ناخذ رايتنج فيه. في عندنا برضو extensive activities. طبعا كل يونت فيها set of high interest interview task interact tasks to help students practice the new vocabulary. هاي بالنسبة ايش؟ بالنسبة شو موجود بكل يونت او كل شابتر. اوكي. طيب. خلينا نبدا بشابتر 1. طبعا باي لسون قلنا احنا شابتر 1 لسون
lesson 4.
طبعا معكم كتب افتحوا لنا لسون 4. شو العنوان عندنا؟ روبرت سكوت A race to the South Pole. طبعا هنا نسأل Who is Robert Scott؟ من حسب من العنوان Who is Robert Scott؟ He is a person ولا لا؟ أو somebody. شو يعني لما نقول race to the South Pole؟ يعني he went to the South Pole. إذا في عندنا somebody called Robert Scott What did he do? He went
Below the South Pole.
to the South Pole. طبعا هون في عندنا صورة، اطلعوا على الصورة. طب look at the picture here. نسأل سؤال هنا. What does this photograph tell you about the geography of the South Pole? سؤال عن الجيوغرافي of the South Pole. تعرف شو يعني South Pole؟ ها؟ South Pole حدا بيعرف؟
القطب الجنوبي.
القطب الجنوبي. good. طبعا السؤال بيقول هنا شو الجيوغرافي of the South Pole؟ يعني كيف بكون الوذر أو الكلايمت in South Pole؟
Cold.
very cold.
No.
شو بكون كمان؟ في snow. okay.
Frozen.
وعندنا snow و very cold. في عندنا ice بكون. okay. طيب if you want to go to the South Pole, what do you need? If you want to explore the South Pole, what do you need? Can you take a car with you? Huh?
A lot of coats.
Can you take a car with you to the South Pole?
No.
No.
Of course.
Can you take a taxi?
No.
No. Then what can you take with you?
Okay.
Huh? What can you take with you?
Skates.
Hmm?
Skates.
سميهم slids. شو يعني slids?
تاعون تزلج.
Yes. Yes, slids. طبعا who will pull these slids? طبعا if you want to explore the South Pole, you don't go by yourself. You have ايش؟ You have a group of people who go with you. ولا لا؟ Then who pull the slids? ممكن you and your ايش؟ Your group كان ايش؟ can pull the sled. أو ممكن يكون معكم ايش؟ Animals that can pull the sleds. طيب, what problems might explorers in the South Pole have? كexplorer, what problems you might have?
أقدر أجاوب.
Yes.
Difficulty moving in snow and bad climates.
Bad climate أو bad weather.
وصعوبة الحركة كمان.
Yes.
ما رح نقدر
عندنا bad
نتحرك.
weather طبعا بكون عندنا ice, بكون عندنا snow. بتكون very 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 cold. ممكن يكون معك برضه يصير عندك shortage of food. ممكن كمان you get sick مثلا. Okay, these are problems that explorers might face when going to the South Pole. تعرفون the weather very 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 harsh in this area, and it's not easy to go there without having problems. Okay. طبعا هنا في عندنا 3 questions before we read. طبعا شو هاي الكويشن؟ تعطيك ايديا عن ايش؟ عن الريدنج باسج. طيب من الكويشن شو بنقدر نعرف انه الباسج عن ايش تحكي؟
دكتور شو السؤال؟
السؤال عندنا في عندنا جاوبنا على 3 questions شفتوهم لما يسموهم before you read. طب هذول questions بيجوا عادة قبل الريدنج. مشان ايش؟ مشان to motivate you to know what is in the passage. طب هاي الأسئلة ايش بدي لك شو تكون passage about what؟ about what؟
دكتور الصوت راح، ممكن تعيد السؤال؟
طبعا هنا في عندنا 3 questions لو بسموه before you read. طبعا هو الكويستشن قبل ما نقرا النص بعطونا ايش motivation to read ايش to read the passage. طب من الاسئله 3 شو على ايش بتستشف، على ايش بتحكي الباسج؟ بدنا بنقراها بعد شوي.
I think expedition to South Pole.
يس اذا في عندنا expedition او بنقدر نقول journey to the South Pole. برضه في عندنا يعني what you need to take with you if you want to explore the South Pole, what you need to take with you. بعدين what problems you might face what in your expedition. إذا من 3 questions هنا صار عندنا ايش؟ idea about the reading passage. أول شيء من البيكتشر برضو التايتل بعطينا كمان فكرة. تايتل قلنا روبرت سكوت A Race to the South Pole. وهنا من التايتل نقدر نقول إنه في person called روبرت سكوت. طبعا Race to the South Pole يعني he went to the South Pole. نطلع برضو على الصورة، برضو الصورة بتعطينا clue إنه هنا في عندنا some people are going to the South Pole معهم إيش؟ slids. أوكي. برضو الquestions كمان بتضيف نوع من إيش؟ more details about إيش؟ about the race to the South Pole. Question number 1 مثلا هنا geography of the South Pole يعني تعطيك فكرة عن الكلايمت أو الweather in the South Pole. Question 2 what would you need in order to explore? What do you want or what you need to take with you when you want to explore the South Pole? يعني شو facilities or equipment you need. Question 3 problems. What problems you might face if you go to the South Pole. واضح؟ إذا صار عندنا ideas عن ايش؟ عن الباراجراف او عن الباسج اللي هو اول شيء عن الكلايمت او الوذر of the South Pole. Number 2 what things you should take with you to the South Pole. And the third thing is what problems you may face during your journey or expedition to the South Pole. يعني هذول 3 questions بعطونا فكرة يعني good idea about what the passage is about. Okay. نشوف هنا بعديه context clues. طبعا هنا في عندنا context clues. في عندنا هنا some words from the lesson. أنا هنا هذول الwords بدنا نعرف their meanings. Okay. We should know their what? Their meanings. أشوف number 1. Who would like to do number 1? طبعا اللي بيعرف يرفع اصبعه. Raise your hand. Okay. خلينا نشوف number 1. Robert Scott led an expedition to Antarctica for a scientific organization called the Royal Geographical Society. إذن Robert Scott led an expedition. شو يعني expedition here? What do you mean expedition?
رحلة استكشافية.
Yes, رحلة استكشافية. Good. طبعا هنا في عن الويرد organization. طبعا من الكونتكست تبع الجملة لازم نعرف what do you mean by organization. What is organization?
معناها بالعربي.
بالعربي وبالإنجليزي.
معناها منظمة.
منظمة. أوكي. إذن organization here أنا راح تمر معنا بالباسج. organization يعني زي ما حكت منظم. طيب the second sentence.
اقرأه.
Yes.
On earlier expedition, when dogs become weak, the men killed them for food. معنى weak, tired,
Tired.
exhausted.
Yes. يعني not able to do something. Weak.
Yes.
Okay. Not able to do something or to do anything. يعني opposite of strong. يعني not strong. Okay. Next.
بقرأها أنا.
أسماء. Yes.
Scott had bad luck of having extremely bad weather. It's open for 14 minus 40 degrees Celsius. Celsius. Extremely, it's mean very or a lot.
يعني extreme معناتها very very cold or very very
Yes.
bad weather. Very very. Extreme. Very very. Okay. Very bad weather. Next.
أقرأ دكتور.
اسمك؟ بتول.
بتول.
Yes. ارفعوا اسمعكم انتم عشان اعرف مين بتول.
تمام.
Yes. Yes.
تمام. Scott and his men spent the winter near the Iconium. They used sledges to carry supplies further
Supplies.
further inland.
Further inland. Yes. شو يعني inland هنا؟ What do you mean by inland? What do you mean by inland?
إشي الداخلية.
يعني inland يعني داخل اللاند. يعني داخل المنطقة هاي أو الأرض. Okay.
Interior.
Okay.
Interior. Yes. Next.
جاوب.
أسماء.
Yes.
Yes.
The men become exhausted and had difficulty to pulling their sleds. Exhausted, it mean very, very tired.
Very, very tired. Yes. Very, very tired. طبعا هنا عرفنا معاني الكلمات من إيش؟ من النص. من الكونتكست. Okay. هنا organization عندنا. Weak, extremely, inland and exhausted. طبعا هذول الكلمات راح يمروا معنا بإيش؟ بالباسج.
دكتور ممكن تحكي معنا organization بالإنجليزي؟
نعم.
organization بالإنجليزي.
شو معناها يعني؟ يعني institution. institution. Okay. أو corporation. Okay. أو corporation. institution or corporation. Okay. طبعا هنا في عندنا reading passage. طبعا التايتل here Robert Scott A Race to the South Pole. طبعا هنا لازم نعرف بالأول قبل ما نقرأ الريدنج باسج نعرف المين اي دي فيه. المين اي دي. طيب كيف يعني نعرف المين اي دي بالنسبة للباسج هاي؟
نقرأها بالأول.
مش رايحين نقرأها كلها. اوكي. عشان نشوف المين اي دي لازم نقرأ أول باراجراف بس. اوكي. نعمل سكيمينج بنشوف وين المين اي دي بالفيرست باراجراف. هي عادة تكون مين اي دي بأول باراجراف. واضح؟ طيب who would like to read the first paragraph?
Can I read?
أمارة ولا إمارة؟ اسمك إمارة ولا أمارة؟ سمعتني؟ يا حجازي إمارة ولا أمارة؟ ما بتردش ليش؟ سمعتني إمارة؟ يبدو لي مش واصل الصوت. طب صوتك مش سامع يا إمارة. صوتك مش سامع. ليش؟
هسه مسموع.
هسه مزبوط هسه. إمارة ولا أمارة أنت؟
أمارة.
أمارة أوكي. هاي أمارة. read the first paragraph.
تمام. The first person to reach the South Pole was Roald Amundsen, a Norwegian. Robert Scott, who was English, arrived at the South Pole a month after Amundsen and died on the return journey to his ship. Yet, strangely enough, Scott became a hero, but Amundsen did not. Captain Robert Scott, 1868
خلاص
to
أوكي.
19...
خلاص أنا بالباراجراف خلينا نشوف الباراجراف نمبر 1. طبعا باراجراف نمبر 1 نعتبرها كانترودكشن. اوكي كايش؟ introduction. نبدأ. The first person to reach the South Pole was Roald Amundsen. إذن who was the first person to reach the South Pole? Who was the first person? واحد اسمه ايش؟ Roald what? Amundsen. Roald Amundsen. Who was he? He is a Norwegian person. يعني he is from ايش؟ From Norway. Robert Scott, another person who was English, and he is British from England, arrived at the South Pole a month after Amundsen. Then, first person to reach the South Pole was ايش؟ Roald Amundsen. أجا بعديه روبرت سكوت. طبعا رولد أمundsen كان نرويجي. روبرت سكوت كان English. He arrived at the South Pole a month after Amundsen. He arrived at the South Pole a month after Amundsen. شو صار مع سكوت؟ Died on the return journey to his ship. إذن Scott died on the return journey to his ship. Yet, strangely enough, Scott became a hero, but Amundsen did not. طيب هاي بالنسبة ليش؟ introductory paragraph. طب وين main idea in this paragraph؟ لا اسمع. يا اسمع.
دكتور I think إنه هي أول سطر reach to South Pole.
Hi, is it the main idea? The first person to reach the South Pole? طب شو العنوان تبع العنوان الباسج؟
روبرت سكوت.
روبرت.
لا.
هل بتحكي عن أمundsen ولا عن روبرت؟
روبرت سكوت.
روبرت. إذا شو المين idea in this paragraph؟
من عند روبرت سكوت لعند شب.
طبعا المين idea بتكون سنتنس واحدة بس، جملة واحدة. شو هي بهذول الجمل بالباراجراف هاي؟ يا مانا شو المين ايديا in this paragraph؟
يعني حاسة مش موجودة إنه حرفيا
لا
بالفقرة.
موجودة بس اقرأي مضبوط. اقرأ الفيرست باراجراف.
مش عارف.
Who knows? Who knows the main idea? طيب أنا بساعدكم. المين idea هنا بتكون the last sentence in the first paragraph. شو هي؟ Yet, strangely enough, Scott became a hero, but Amundsen did not. إذن هاي إيش نسميها؟ يعني المين idea أو بنسميها thesis statement أو topic sentence. أوكي؟ إذن وين موقعها؟ At the end of the first paragraph أو at the end of the introductory paragraph. Yet, strangely enough, Scott became a hero, but Amundsen did not. طب شو بنفهم من هاي الجملة؟ شو بنفهم الجملة هاي؟
إنه سكوت أصبح بطلاً.
but Amundsen
لم يفعل.
ليش طيب؟ لأنه the first person to reach the South Pole كان مين؟ Amundsen. أجا بعديه روبرت سكوت. بس روبرت سكوت شو هي؟ إنه كان became a hero. بينما Amundsen إيش؟ he was not a hero. طبعا بدنا نعرف إيش؟ why. إذا بقية الباسج كلها تحكي عن إيش؟ عن Amundsen ولا روبرت سكوت؟ ها؟ Does it talk about Scott ولا Amundsen؟ روبرت سكوت يس. لأن أصلا التايتل روبرت سكوت. أوكي. إذا المين ايديا أو نسميها topic sentence اللي هي إيش؟ The last sentence in the first paragraph. اللي هي yet strangely enough Scott became a hero but Amundsen did not. On the rest of the passage is talking about how Roberts became a hero. How Robert Scott became a hero. Okay. Paragraph 2. Would like to read paragraph 2? Asma?
Yes, Doctor. Captain Robert Scott, 1868-1812, was an officer in English Navy. From 1801 to 1804, he led an expedition to Antarctica for a British scientific organization called a Royal Geographical Society. His group traveled farther south than anyone else had ever done. He gathered information on rocks, weather, and climate, and he made maps. When he returned to England, he was a national hero.
Thank you.
أكمل؟
لا خلاص paragraph بس هاي paragraph.
Thank you.
طيب. فهنا الباراجراف هاي talks about روبرت سكوت. طبعا بتعرف بروبرت سكوت. مين هو روبرت سكوت؟ إذا كابتن روبرت سكوت طبعا 1868 ل 1912 شو يعني هون 1868؟ يعني he was born in 1868 ودid ايش or died in what? In 1912. Then he was born 1868 and he died when? On or in 1912. يعني how old was he? How old was he? And in 1912 died, and he was born in 1868.
تقريبا 45 سنة.
Yes, 44 years. 44 years عمر. Yes. هنا نحكي عن ايش؟ What was he doing؟ يعني as living. He was an officer in the English Navy. إذا شو كان؟ Officer. تعرفوا officer. In the English Navy. Navy. What do you mean by Navy?
أحكي المعنى بالعربي.
Yes.
اللي هي القوات البحرية.
Yes, بحرية. Yes. سموه Marine Forces. إذا هنا في عنا Captain Robert Scott. He was an officer in the English Navy. Now, what did he do? From 1901 to 1904, he led an expedition to Antarctica for a British scientific organization called the Royal Geographical Society. Then what did Scott do from 1901 to 1904? He led an expedition. قلنا expedition قبل شوية. هي ايش؟
رحلة استكشافية.
رحلة استكشافية وين؟ to Antarctica. شو أنتاركتيكا؟ أنا قلنا عنها قبل شوية. هي South Pole. أنتاركتيكا يعني South Pole. طبعا who sent him to Antarctica? the British Scientific Organization. شو اسمها؟ Royal Geographical Society. شايفين كلمة organization مرت معنا قبل شوي حكينا عنها بالاكسرسايز اللي قبلها. إذا we know what organization is. Now his group traveled further south than anyone else had ever done. His group يعني the people with him traveled further south than anyone else had. فين محاضرة سمحتوا؟ أنا خلص. إذن his group يعني the people who were with him traveled further south than anyone else had ever done. يعني they traveled further than anyone can what could go further. What did he do in traveling further south? He gathered information on rocks, weather, and climate. إذا شو عمل؟ gathered يعني collected. إيش؟ information, rocks, weather, and climate. شو كمان عمل؟ he made maps. You know maps. When he returned to England, he was a national hero. طبعا after his expedition here, from 901 to 904, what did he do during this period? He collected information about rocks, weather, and climate, and he made maps. طبعا in 1904, he returned to England, and he was a national hero. إذا اعتبروه إيش؟ National hero. You know hero. What's hero?
بطل.
سؤال.
بطل. Yes. Yes. Then he was national hero. Okay. The next paragraph. Batul.
Yes, Doctor. A few years later, Scott decided to organize another expedition. He said that he wanted to make a complete scientific study of Antarctica, but his real goal was to be the first person at the South Pole. He took 3 doctors, several scientists, and a number of other men with him.
Thank you. Then, I'm going to Scott went to the South Pole from 1901 to 1904. وعمل هناك ايش information about rocks, weather, climate and so on. بعدين returned to England. بعدين طبعا a few years later what did he do? Scott decided to organize another expedition. Then what did he decide to do? To organize another expedition. Why did he want to organize another expedition? When he said that he wanted to make a complete scientific study of Antarctica. إذا شو كان الهدف تبع الجول؟ To make complete scientific study of Antarctica, اللي هي South Pole. But his real goal was to be the first person at the South Pole. إذا شو كان هدفه الحقيقي؟ But his real goal شو كان؟ To be the first person at the South Pole. يعني to be the first person who went to the South Pole. So what did he do? He took with him 3 doctors, several scientists, and a number of other men with him. يعني سكوت عمل ايش؟ expedition ثاني after he returned to England in 1904. طبعا what did he want to do in this expedition? He قال طبعا he said انه he wanted to make a complete scientific study of the South Pole. لكن الريال جول تبعه شو كان؟ To be the first person to reach the South Pole. Did he go alone? Did he go alone?
He went
No.
with 3 doctors.
He took with him 3 doctors, several scientists, and a number of other men with him. Okay. The next paragraph. Asma.
Yes, Doctor. Scott group sailed on a ship named the Terra Nova in June 1810. When they reached Australia, they learned that Amundsen was also on his way to the pole. Amundsen.
Okay. كيف؟ Scott's group حكينا عنهم قبل شوي اللي هم ايش؟ 3 doctors, several scientists, a number of other men. هذول ايش؟ Scott's group sailed on a ship. Then they took a ship called Terra Nova. When was that? 1910. 1910. Then after 6 years from his return to England, he went back again to the South Pole. June 1910. When they reached Australia, Australia on their way to the South Pole, they knew that Amundsen was also on his way to the pole. إذن they know or knew إنه برضو أمندسن حكينا عنه قبل شوية أول الباسج كمان برضو إيش he was on his way to the pole. إذن here 2 people were going to the South Pole, Scott and Amundsen. Okay. Next. Batul?
Yes, Doctor. Amundsen and Scott were very different from each other, and they made very different plans. Amundsen planned everything very carefully. He took slides and dog teams as the great Arctic explorer did. أكمل.
Yeah. كمل الباراجراف كله انت كمل الباراجراف. Yes.
وقفت عند النقطة أنا.
لا الباراجراف تنتهي عند
وين؟
شايف السطر كم شلون فايت لجوا من فوق عند امندسون.
عند من
بس يبدا سطر ثاني نفس الشيء فايت لجوا تكون انتهت الفقره.
تمام.
Yes.
Scott took Bones, small horse, and a few dog, but the plan to have his main ball. The sleds themselves for most of the trip on irregular expedition as some dog became weak. The men killed them for food for themselves and the other dogs. Amundsen did this too, and it helped him reach the pole, but later people called him dog eater. Scott would not eat his dog, and this was one reason he died on the expedition.
Thank you.
Expedition.
Okay, thank you. طبعا انتهت الباراجراف. طبعا في زي ما قلنا في عندنا two people امندسون وسكوت. طبعا both of them were going to the South Pole. Amundsen and Scott were very different from each other. Then, are they the same? No, they were very different from each other. And both of them made different plans. Yani they are not similar to each other. Both of them are very different from each other and they made very different plans. Amundsen planned everything very carefully. Amundsen planned everything very carefully. You know what did he do? He took sleds and dog teams. Then he took with him sleds, حكينا عن sleds قبل شوية, and dog teams, as the great Arctic explorer did. What did Scott take? Scott took ponies. شو يعني ponies? يعني small horses.
Small horses.
And a few dogs. But he planned to have his men pull the sleds themselves. Then who pulled the sleds? His men. On earlier expeditions, as some dogs became weak, يعني not strong, what did they do with them? The men killed them for food for themselves and the other dogs. إذن بالearlier expedition شو كانوا يعملوا؟ When dogs became weak شو بيعملوا فيهم؟ The men killed these dogs. ليش؟ For food, to eat them. إذن when or as these dogs or some of these dogs became weaker, the men in the expedition killed them for food. Food for themselves طبعا, and food for other dogs. Food for other dogs. Amundsen did this too. لما نقول did this too يعني he killed dogs and ate them. And it helped them reach the pole. Then, as a result of this, of eating these dogs, it helped them to reach the pole. So people called him what? Dog eater. شو يعني dog eater? In a person who eats
People eat
dogs. Scott is different. ليش? He would not eat his dogs. And this was one reason he died on his expedition. إذا شو الديفرنس نقدر نعرف between Amundsen and Scott? شو الفيرست ديفرنس بيناتهم؟ امندسون شو سوى من امندسون؟ طبعا امندسون took ايش؟ sleds and dog teams. بالمقابل سكوت شو what did he take؟ he took small or ponies لهم small horses and a few dogs. إذا هذا الفيرست ديفرنس إنه أمندسون took sleds and dog teams بينما سكوت took إيش؟ ponies then small horses and a few dogs. And he planned his men to pull the sledges themselves. Another difference, as some dogs became weak, طبعا شو عمل أمندسون؟ He killed these dogs and ate them. بينما سكوت إيش؟ He did not eat his dogs. إذا الأول اللي هو أمندسون killed and ate dogs وهاي شو عملت له؟ helped him to reach the pole. بينما سكوت شو ماله؟ did not kill his dogs and eat them. So شو صار معه؟ So he died. He died on his expedition. Then هاي differences between Scott and Amundsen. بنعيدهم مرة ثانية. Differences between Amundsen and Scott. Amundsen took sleds and dog teams. بينما Scott took ايش؟ ponies and a few dogs. Amundsen killed the weak dogs and ate them, and this helped him to reach the South Pole. بينما Scott did not eat or did not kill the dogs and eat them, so he died on his expedition. Okay. The next paragraph. اسمع.
دكتور شو السؤال؟
بقول read the next paragraph.
Yes. There were difference between two expeditions. Amundsen sailed 100 kilometers closer to the pole than Scott did. Scott also had the bad luck of having extremely bad weather, days of blizzard and strong winds. It was often 40 degrees Celsius. Scott and his men pulled.
Thank you. خلص باراجراف واحد بس. اوكي. إذا حكينا عن differences شو كمان الباراجراف اللي بعديها؟ There were other differences. كمان other differences between the two expeditions. شو other differences? Amundsen sailed 100 kilometers closer to the pole than Scott did. إذا كان أمندسون closer للبول 100 كيلومتر لكن سكوت no. Okay. إذا Amundsen sailed 100 kilometers closer to the pole than Scott did. But Scott had the bad luck of having extremely bad weather. إذا Scott had bad luck. شو bad luck؟ إنه he has extremely bad weather. شو كان days of blizzards. شو يعني blizzards؟ معناته storms with wind and snow. هاي blizzards. And strong wind. كيف كانت درجة الحرارة؟ It was often 40 Celsius. يعني minus يعني ناقص. يعني 40 below zero. 40 degrees below zero. إذا نقدر نحكي عن other differences. حكينا عنهم قبل شوية differences. في عندنا كمان other differences. شو هم؟ إنه Amundsen sailed 100 kilometers closer to the South Pole than Scott did. What are the difference in Scott? Scott had bad luck of having extremely bad weather with blizzards, كان days of blizzards. يقولون storms with wind and snow. كانت الحرارة temperature 40 degrees below zero. 40 degrees Celsius below zero. And this is very extremely cold. Okay. إذا صار عندنا differences between Amundsen and Scott. طبعا الباراجراف اللي قبليه حكت عن ال differences. برضه هاي الباراجراف حكت عن ال other differences. Okay. The next paragraph. أسماء.
Yes. Scott and his men built a base camp near the ocean edge, and spent the winter there. They used sails and ponies to carry a ton of supplies farther inland to a place that they named the one of the ton depot. When spring came, a few of the men start ahead of the other with motorized sleds to leave supplies along the way. However, after only a few days, the motorized sled broke down and the men had to pull them.
Thank you. Then Scott and his men built a base camp near the ocean's edge and spent the winter there. Then what did Scott and his men do? They built a base camp. شو يعني base camp؟
خيمة.
يعني زي معسكر. Okay. A base camp near the ocean's edge. And they شو عملوا؟ spent the winter there. يعني they spent the winter in that إيش؟ in that base camp. They used sleds and ponies. Then what did they use? They used sleds and ponies to carry a ton of supplies or supplies further inland. Then how did they carry supplies further inland? They used what age? Sleds and ponies. Then sleds and ponies were used to carry a ton of supplies further inland, toward the interior of the land. Then they carry these supplies to a place that they named the 1 ton depot. Then Scott and his men used sleds and ponies to carry a ton of supplies. شو يعني supplies here?
Equipment.
يعني
معدات.
عدتهم يحتاجوها. Yes. Supplies further land to a place. Then they carry these supplies to a place called ايش؟ called 1 ton depot. So I'm going to inland toward the interior. When spring came, a few of the men started ahead of the others with motorized sleds to leave supplies along the way. طبعا after winter بيجي طبعا spring. When spring came, a few of the men. What did those men do? They started ahead of the others, and they left before the others with motorized sleds. شو يعني motorized sleds؟ يعني sleds with motors. And they leave what? Or left supplies along the way. To leave supplies along the way. طبعا في عندنا هنا however يعني في عندنا something which is different here. After only a few days, what happened? The motorized sleds broke down. إذا شو صار للسليدز؟ motorized sleds broke
انكسرت.
down. شو يعني broke down؟
كراش تحطمت.
crashed أو يعني خربوا معناها. And the men had to pull them. إذا who pulled the sleds after they broke down? The men. طبعا المن كانوا مع سكوت. إذا after the motorized sleds broke down, the men and Scotsmen had to pull these sleds by themselves. They had to pull these sleds by themselves. Okay. Any question about this so far? في عندكم أي سؤال بالنسبة لحكينا كلهم؟ Do you have any question?
No, دكتور.
يعني واضح ايش شرحنا؟
Yes.
Okay. إذا هنا we talk about Scott's journey or expedition to the South Pole, and we talked about differences between Amundsen and Scott, and also we talked about the problems that Scott faced in his journey to the South Pole. Okay. So if you don't have any question, let's stop here today and see you on Thursday. طبعا تكون معكم كتب on Thursday شرناهم. تحضرون بعد ما وصلنا عند باراجراف طبعا له لاين 47 من لاين 47 وبعد تحضرون. Okay. Any question? Okay. So if you don't have any question, we can stop here. Okay.
يعطيك العافية دكتور.
ما في كلام.